Relationships are like bridges. They connect people, ideas, and opportunities. But here's the thing, bridges don't just magically appear. They're built brick by brick, trust by trust. And if you want to build a bridge that lasts, you've got to start with a solid foundation. So, what's the secret to building strong, trusting relationships? It's simple, but it's not always easy. It starts with one word: authenticity. People can sense when you're being real, and they can sense when you're not. If you're trying to build a relationship based on anything other than honesty, it's like building a house on sand. It might look good for a while, but sooner or later it's going to crumble. So be genuine. Be yourself. And here's the kicker: let others be themselves too. Don't try to change them. Don't judge them. Just accept them for who they are. That's where trust begins. Now, let's talk about listening. And I don't mean just hearing the words someone says. I mean really listening. Paying attention to what they're saying, how they're saying it, and even what they're not saying. Because here's the truth: people don't always say exactly what they mean. Sometimes, the most important part of a conversation is what's left unsaid. When you listen with your full attention, you're sending a message. You're saying you matter, your thoughts matter, your feelings matter. And that's how you build trust. But it doesn't stop there. You've got to show up consistently. Relationships aren't built in a day. They're built over time, through small, consistent actions. It's the little things: remembering someone's birthday, following up on a conversation, or just checking in to see how they're doing. Those little things add up. They show people that you care, not just about what they can do for you, but about who they are as a person. And here's something else: don't be afraid to give. Give your time, your energy, your support. But don't give with the expectation of getting something in return. Give because you genuinely want to help, because you genuinely care. When you give without strings attached, you're building a relationship that's based on mutual respect and trust. And that's the kind of relationship that lasts. Finally, let's talk about communication. And I'm not just talking about talking. I'm talking about being clear, being open, and being kind. If something's bothering you, say it. If you appreciate someone, tell them. Don't assume they know how you feel. Be direct, but be kind. Because at the end of the day, communication is the glue that holds relationships together. Without it, even the strongest bridge can fall apart. So there you have it. Authenticity, listening, consistency, giving, and communication. These are the bricks that build strong, trusting relationships. And if you lay them carefully, one by one, you'll create something that can withstand anything. Something that lasts. Because at the end of the day, life is all about the connections we make. And the stronger those connections are, the richer our lives become. Now, let's dig a little deeper. Let's talk about why authenticity is so important. You see, when you're authentic, you're giving people permission to be authentic too. You're creating a safe space where they can be themselves without fear of judgment or rejection. And that's powerful. Because when people feel safe, they open up. They share their thoughts, their feelings, their dreams. And that's when real connection happens. But here's the thing: being authentic does mean you have to share every single detail of your life. It just means being honest about who you are and what you stand for. It means owning your strengths and your weaknesses. It means being vulnerable even when it's uncomfortable. Because vulnerability is where trust is born. When you're willing to show your imperfections, you're showing people that it's okay to be human. And that's a gift. Now let's talk about listening again, because it's that important. Have you ever been in a conversation where you could tell the other person was really listening? Maybe they were nodding along, but their mind was somewhere else. It does feel good, does it? It makes you feel like you don't matter. Like what you're saying isn't important. And that's the opposite of what we want in a relationship. So, how do you become a better listener? Start by being present. Put away your phone, turn off the TV, and focus on the person in front of you. Make eye contact. Smile. Show them that you're engaged. And don't interrupt. Let them finish their thoughts before you respond. Because when you interrupt, you're sending a message that what you have to say is more important than what they're saying. And that's not how you build trust. Another key to listening is empathy. Try to put yourself in the other person's shoes. How would you feel if you were in their situation? What would you need from someone else? When you approach a conversation with empathy, you're not just hearing words, you're understanding emotions. And that's where real connection happens. Now let's talk about consistency. Because here's the truth, trust isn't built in grand gestures. It's built in the small, everyday moments. It's built when you show up day after day and prove that you're reliable, that you can be counted on, that you're someone who keeps their word. Think about it this way: if someone tells you they're going to do something and then they don't follow through, how does that make you feel? It probably makes you question whether you can trust them. But if someone consistently does what they say they're going to do, it builds confidence. It builds trust. It shows that they're someone who values their commitments. So, how do you become more consistent? Start by setting realistic expectations. Don't promise more than you can deliver. And if you say you're going to do something, do it. Even if it's something small. Because those small actions add up. They show people that you're someone who can be trusted. And let's not forget about giving. Because relationships are a two-way street. They're about give and take. But here's the thing: if you're always taking and never giving, the relationship becomes unbalanced. And that's when resentment starts to creep in. So, how do you give in a way that builds trust? Start by giving without expecting anything in return. Give because you want to, not because you feel like you have to. And give in a way that's meaningful to the other person. Maybe it's your time. Maybe it's your support. Maybe it's just a kind word. Whatever it is, make sure it comes from the heart. And finally, let's talk about communication again. Because it's the foundation of every relationship. Without clear, open, and honest communication, misunderstandings happen. Resentment builds. And trust erodes. So, how do you communicate in a way that builds trust? Start by being clear. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Don't beat around the bush. Don't expect people to read your mind. Be direct, but be kind. And if something's bothering you, address it. Don't let it fester. Because the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to resolve. And don't forget to express appreciation. When someone does something that matters to you, tell them. Let them know that you notice, that you care. Because when people feel appreciated, they're more likely to trust you. They're more likely to invest in the relationship. So there you have it. Authenticity, listening, consistency, giving, and communication. These are the keys to building strong, trusting relationships. And if you focus on these things, you'll create connections that last a lifetime. Because at the end of the day, relationships are what make life meaningful. They're what make us feel seen, heard, and valued. And is that what we all want? Let's talk about authenticity again, because it's the cornerstone of any strong relationship. Think about the people you trust the most in your life. Chances are, they're the ones who've always been real with you. They don't put on a mask or pretend to be someone they're not. They're just themselves. And that's refreshing, isn't it? Because in a world where so many people are trying to impress or fit in, authenticity stands out. But here's the thing, being authentic is always easy. It requires courage. It means being willing to show your flaws, to admit when you're wrong, and to stand by your values even when it's unpopular. It means being vulnerable. And vulnerability can be scary. But here's the secret: vulnerability is also incredibly powerful. It's what allows people to connect with you on a deeper level. It's what makes you relatable. And when people see that you're willing to be real, they're more likely to let their guard down and be real with you too. Now let's take listening to the next level. Because listening isn't just about hearing words, it's about understanding the emotions behind those words. It's about picking up on the subtle cues, the tone of voice, the body language. It's about being fully present in the moment. And that's not something that comes naturally to everyone. In fact, in today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get distracted. To have listened while scrolling through your phone or thinking about what you're going to say next. But here's the thing: when you do that, you're missing out on the opportunity to truly connect. So how do you become a better listener? Start by practicing mindfulness. Be intentional about focusing on the person in front of you. Let away distractions. Make eye contact. Smile. Show them that you're engaged. And don't just listen to respond, listen to understand. Ask questions. Reflect back what you've heard. Show them that you're not just hearing their words, but that you're truly trying to understand their perspective. And here's something else: don't be afraid of silence. Sometimes, the most powerful moments in a conversation happen in the pauses. When you allow space for someone to gather their thoughts or express their emotions, you're giving them the gift of being heard. And that's something they'll never forget. Now, let's talk about consistency again, because it's the glue that holds relationships together. Think about it: trust isn't built overnight. It's built through repeated actions over time. It's built when you show up day after day and prove that you're reliable, that you can be counted on, that you're someone who keeps their word. But here's the thing: consistency isn't just about doing the same thing over and over. It's about being predictable in a good way. It's about creating a sense of safety and stability in the relationship. When people know what to expect from you, they feel more secure. They feel like they can trust you. And that's when the relationship really starts to flourish. So, how do you become more consistent? Start by setting clear expectations. Be honest about what you can and can't do. And if you say you're going to do something, follow through. Even if it's something small. Because those small actions add up. They show people that you're someone who can be trusted. And let's not forget about giving. Because relationships are a two-way street. They're about give and take. But here's the thing: if you're always taking and never giving, the relationship becomes unbalanced. And that's when resentment starts to creep in. So, how do you give in a way that builds trust? Start by giving without expecting anything in return. Give because you want to, not because you feel like you have to. And give in a way that's meaningful to the other person. Maybe it's your time. Maybe it's your support. Maybe it's just a kind word. Whatever it is, make sure it comes from the heart. And here's something else: don't underestimate the power of small gestures. Sometimes it's the little things that mean the most. A text message to check in. A handwritten note. A surprise coffee. These small acts of kindness show people that you're thinking about them, that you care. And that's what builds trust. Now let's dive deeper into communication. Because here's the truth: communication is the foundation of every relationship. Without clear, open, and honest communication, misunderstandings happen, resentment builds, and trust erodes. So, how do you communicate in a way that builds trust? Start by being clear. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Don't beat around the bush. Don't expect people to read your mind. Be direct, but be kind. And if something's bothering you, address it. Don't let it fester. Because the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to resolve. And here's something else: don't forget to express appreciation. When someone does something that matters to you, tell them. Let them know that you notice, that you care. Because when people feel appreciated, they're more likely to trust you. They're more likely to invest in the relationship. But communication isn't just about talking, it's also about listening. And not just listening to respond, but listening to understand. When you truly listen to someone, you're showing them that you value their thoughts and feelings, that you respect them. And that's what builds trust. Now let's talk about boundaries. Because here's the thing: trust isn't just about being open and honest. It's also about respecting each other's boundaries. Everyone has their own limits, their own comfort zones. And if you want to build a strong, trusting relationship, you need to respect those boundaries. So, how do you set and respect boundaries? Start by being clear about your own. Know what you're comfortable with and what you're not. And communicate that to the other person. Be honest, but be kind. And when someone sets a boundary with you, respect it. Don't push. Don't guilt them. Just respect their limits. Because when you respect someone's boundaries, you're showing them that you value their autonomy, that you care about their well-being. And that's what builds trust. And let's not forget about forgiveness. Because here's the truth: no relationship is perfect. There will be misunderstandings. There will be mistakes. And when those happen, forgiveness is key. Holding on to grudges only creates distance. It erodes trust. But when you're willing to forgive, you are showing the other person that you value the relationship more than your pride. That you're willing to move forward. And that's what builds trust. So, how do you practice forgiveness? Start by letting go of the need to be right. Focus on the relationship, not the argument. And remember that forgiveness isn't about excusing the behavior, it's about choosing to move forward. It's about giving the relationship a chance to heal. And finally, let's talk about growth. Because here's the thing: relationships aren't static. They're living, breathing things. They grow and change over time. And if you want to build a strong, trusting relationship, you need to be willing to grow with it. So, how do you grow in a relationship? Start by being open to feedback. Listen to what the other person has to say. Be willing to make changes. And don't be afraid to have difficult conversations. Because growth often comes from discomfort. It comes from being willing to face the hard stuff and work through it together. And here's something else: don't forget to celebrate the wins. When you reach a milestone in the relationship, take a moment to acknowledge it. Celebrate it. Because those moments of celebration strengthen the bond. They remind you why you're in the relationship in the first place. So there you have it. Authenticity, listening, consistency, giving, communication, boundaries, forgiveness, and growth. These are the keys to building strong, trusting relationships. And if you focus on these things, you'll create connections that last a lifetime. Because at the end of the day, relationships are what make life meaningful. They're what make us feel seen, heard, and valued. And is that what we all want? Let's talk about the power of small moments. Because here's the thing: trust isn't just built in the big, dramatic moments. It's built in the everyday interactions. The way you greet someone in the morning. The way you ask how their day was. The way you remember the little details they've shared with you. Those small moments might seem insignificant, but they add up. They show people that you're paying attention, that you care. And that's what builds trust. Think about it. When someone remembers something you told them weeks ago, how does that make you feel? It makes you feel valued. It makes you feel like you matter. And that's the kind of feeling that strengthens relationships. So, don't underestimate the power of those small moments. They're the building blocks of trust. Now, let's talk about empathy. Because here's the truth: trust isn't just about what you do, it's about how you make people feel. And empathy is the key to making people feel understood. When you put yourself in someone else's shoes, when you try to see the world from their perspective, you're showing them that you care about their experience, that you're not just focused on yourself. And that's what builds trust. So, how do you practice empathy? Start by asking yourself, how would I feel if I were in their situation? And then act accordingly. If someone's going through a tough time, offer your support. If someone's celebrating a win, share in their joy. Show them that you're not just a bystander in their life, you're an active participant. And that's what makes all the difference. And here's something else: don't forget to be patient. Because trust takes time. It's not something that happens overnight. It's something that grows gradually through consistent actions and genuine care. So don't rush it. Don't force it. Just be patient. Keep showing up. Keep being authentic. Keep listening. And over time, the trust will grow. Finally, let's talk about gratitude. Because here's the thing: when you express gratitude, you're not just acknowledging the other person's actions. You're acknowledging their value. You're showing them that you appreciate who they are, not just what they do. And that's incredibly powerful. It strengthens the bond. It deepens the connection. And it builds trust. So don't be shy about expressing gratitude. Say thank you. Write a note. Give a compliment. Let people know that you appreciate them. Because when people feel appreciated, they're more likely to trust you. They're more likely to invest in the relationship. And that's what makes it last. So, what's the secret to building strong, trusting relationships? It's not about grand gestures or perfect words. It's about the small, consistent actions that show people you care. It's about being authentic, listening deeply, showing up consistently, giving without expecting anything in return, and communicating with kindness and clarity. It's about respecting boundaries, practicing forgiveness, and growing together. And most importantly, it's about valuing the person in front of you, not for what they can do for you, but for who they are. At the end of the day, relationships are the foundation of a meaningful life. They're what make us feel seen, heard, and valued. And when you invest in them, when you build them with honesty, empathy, and care, you create something that lasts. Something that can withstand anything. So start today. Be real. Be present. Be kind. And watch as your relationships grow stronger, deeper, and more fulfilling. Because when you build trust, you are not just building bridges, you're building a life worth living.